Hey everybody, we are going to start talking about the Mound Builders, natives that came after the Paleo Indians. All right, they're an interesting group of people. What we're looking at right now is your Google Classroom. It's Mound Builders. And we have the mound map. We have Mound Builders. That's our chapter. We have our Mound Builders PDF. This Mound Builders PDF, take a look up here, y'all. Take a look. This is what you're going to use for that page we just set up. So here's the page we set up. Adena, Hopewell, and Fort Ancient. You're going to write your answers in here based on this little guy right here. It says, write each word or phrase from the box under the correct heading. For help, you can look back at pages 62 through 68 in your textbook. So the Adena, right? Which of these things in the box have to do with the Adena? You don't know yet. We got to learn about it, right? Is it Great Circle Mound? Did they build that? Did they build the Great Serpent Mound? Did they build the Miamisburg Mounds? Did they raise corn or carve pipes? Did the Adena live in round homes? Did they live in rectangular homes? Did they use bows and arrows? Did they barter? Did they have a village square? We don't know. We're about to learn all that information right now. Whoa. All right, so then you guys are familiar with this. Each of you gets your own copy of this, right? As we read, you're going to look up what these words mean: culture, religion. Let's see. I'll blow this up so you can see a little better. So we have culture, religion, barter, shaman, a shaman, the Great Serpent Mound, and Fort Ancient. Okay, so those are the things you're going to be looking for. You're going to type the definitions in there, right, as we read. So I would like you all right now to follow along with me as I read Lesson 2, The Mound Builders. You guys ready? All right. In 1883, a visitor from Massachusetts stood before a huge mound, or hill, of earth in southern Ohio. He described the mound as the mysterious work of an unknown people. The big picture. Today, this mysterious mound still stands in Adams County in the southern part of our state, called the Great Serpent Mound. It is shaped like a giant curled snake or serpent. Its mouth holds what looks like a giant egg. That is so cool, isn't it? The Great Serpent Mound is just one of thousands of mounds that once dotted Ohio. Today, we know that many groups of Native Americans built mounds in North America. We call these groups, everyone, mound builders. Mound builders, right? They lived in many parts of what is now the eastern United States. The Adena, the Hopewell, and the Fort Ancient peoples built mounds in Ohio. Each group had its own culture. What are they going to do? They're going to tell us what culture means, or way of life. So what does culture mean?
Way of life.
It means a way of life, right? Over the years, many mounds have been destroyed. In Ohio, some of the mounds that remain are now in state parks. Others are in cities near modern buildings, homes, and even golf courses. You can look at the map on the next page to see the location of mounds in Ohio. How many of you would like to go visit one of those mounds?
Me.
And what are the things, the items left behind by ancient peoples called? What are those called again? Starts with an A?
Artifacts.
Everyone?
Artifacts.
Now, really quick, I'm going to pull up my pen so that I have that while we read. Okay. Yeah, artifacts, that's what they're called.
Artifacts.
So here, let's keep going. The Adena people, right? Is that opening for me? Yes, it is. I just need to be a little more patient. The Adena people, right? The mound builders began living in Ohio almost 3,000 years ago. No one knows what the early mound builders called themselves. We call them the Adena, right? But Adena is a name of the place near Chillicothe where some of their artifacts were first found. Who would find their artifacts and study them? What are those people? Everyone?
Archaeologists.
Thank you. Ohio's first farmers. So the Adena were farmers, you guys. Ohio's first farmers built their villages. They built villages
That's one of the
along rivers in what is today central and southern Ohio. They built round homes covered with bark or woven grass. So they built round homes. They lived in villages. They were farmers. Okay, I'm just coming up with that in my mind. Sometimes many families shared the same house. The Adena lived in one place for a long time. They did not need to move as often as the hunter-gatherers who came before them. That is because the Adena had learned a new skill, farming.
What?
Right. That was a brand new skill. Farming was not something. Remember, the Paleo Indians used to follow, the woolly mammoths around, and they would hunt and gather. They had to follow their food. These guys were farming. In rich soil near the rivers, they grew pumpkins, squash, and sunflowers. How did people learn to farm? When people live in a place for a while, they begin to notice changes, right, and patterns in the world around them. That is just what the early Ohioans did. They saw which plants and trees had good fruit. They noticed that the plants came up in the same place year after year, right? They discovered that if they dropped seeds into the dirt, plants grew. That's a huge thing, you guys. In time, people learned to plant seeds to grow their own food. Farming brought many changes to people's lives. Don't you think that would bring a lot of change?
Yes.
They knew where their food was going to be from year to year, so they could stay in one place. To care for their, I don't know, what were they going to care for their, right here. To care for their gardens, farm families stayed in the same area rather than move from place to place. Since they did not have to travel and carry their things with them, they could make bigger and heavier tools. Farmers could build long-lasting homes where they could use and store more things. By farming, they were able to raise more food for a group. That way, not everyone had to spend time searching for things to eat. Some people worked at other tasks. Adena people made pottery and baskets. They also made jewelry and carved pipes, right? All right, Ohio's earthworkers. The Adena built thousands of hill-shaped mounds in Ohio. The largest mound is the Miamisburg Mound. Okay, so they built the Miamisburg Mound, just so you know, near Dayton. It is 68 feet high. That is tall. That's as tall as 11 or 12 adults stacked one atop another. Not all the Adena mounds were shaped like big hills. Some looked like animals, birds, snakes, and humans. Can you imagine how much work it took to build the mounds? It's not like they had, tractors and stuff, you guys, or heavy equipment. They had to do that by hand with shovels and buckets, right? Like I said, they had no horses, no wheels for wagons, no shovels. They carried dirt in baskets and in the pockets of deerskin aprons that they wore. No one knows how the Adena people learned to build the mounds. Some people think the Adena used math to design and measure the mounds.
What?
Wouldn't that be interesting? Right? So, burial mounds. When you see a giant mound, one of the first things you want to know is what they were used for. The Adena buried their dead in the mounds. That's a huge bit of information, right? They also held special religious ceremonies there. Religion is the way people worship the god or gods they believe in. So there it is. There's religion, right? The Adena buried jewelry and other special items alongside their dead. In the mounds, archaeologists have found animal-shaped pipes. They also have found stone tablets. Those pipes and tablets are called what? Artifacts. With pictures of snakes and birds. After the Adena artists carved the pictures onto the stone, they covered the tablets with paint. Then they stamped the design onto cloth or animal skins. About 2,000 years ago, the Adena disappeared from Ohio. What happened is still a mystery. The Hopewell people. Before the Adena disappeared, a Hopewell group of people we call the Hopewell began to build settlements here. About 2,100 years ago, Hopewell group settled in the Scioto River Valley. A few moved to the valleys of the Miami and Muskingum rivers. Long distance. By studying artifacts, archaeologists know that the Hopewell traveled great distances to barter. Bartering means to trade goods with other people without using money. So we know what barter means, right? Hopewell traders traveled by canoe to carry goods over Ohio rivers. Traders on foot walked hundreds of miles through forests to barter with people in other places. In Ohio, archaeologists have found grizzly bear claws and black rock called obsidian that came from the Rocky Mountains. They found copper from the Great Lakes area and a rock called mica from North Carolina. Hopewell hunters carved the obsidian into spear points. Workers shaped copper into bracelets and beads. Hopewell artists cut the mica into mirrors and delicate animal and human shapes. Look at some of the things they made here. Look. That's cool, right? Village life. Like Hopewell, the Adena culture, like people in the Adena culture, the Hopewell lived as hunters, gatherers, and farmers. In their gardens, they grew pumpkins, squash, sunflowers, and corn. The Hopewell were probably the first people in Ohio to raise corn.
They raised corn.
5 or 6 Hopewell families lived together in a village. People in the village did different jobs. Many spent time caring for crops. Others made tools and pottery. Skilled artists and metal workers spent most of their time making beautiful things for Hopewell leaders. Right? Skilled mound builders. Hopewell people from many small villages worked together to build mounds. Near present-day Newark, villagers built mounds in the shape of giant circles, squares, and 8-sided figures called octagons. Think about the skills the Hopewell mound builders used to build these mounds. Earth monuments. The Hopewell also built mounds on hilltops. These mounds look like forts. One of these mounds stands hundreds of feet tall in the Little Miami River. The Hopewell stacked dirt 10 to 25 feet high to form the mound's outer walls. Inside the walls, the workers built burial mounds. Today, we call this area Fort Ancient. So who built Fort Ancient? Who built Fort Ancient? No, we know Mound Builders did, but what group?
Hopewell.
The Hopewell built the Fort Ancient, right? Yes, indeedy. All right. Fort Ancient. Scientists think building it probably took, oh my gosh, 200 years. You know that's as old as our country, right? 200 years. Well, it's not as old, but pretty close. Graves and calendars. Archaeologists don't think the Hopewell people used walled mounds such as Fort Ancient as forts. They did, however, live nearby. Near the mounds, people bartered. They also held funerals, feasts, and weddings there. The Hopewell buried their leaders and other important people in the mounds. Special objects such as pipes, jewelry, and pearls were buried with them. What are those objects called when someone finds them?
Artifacts.
After the burial, a religious leader or shaman dressed in a bear or wolf skin led a special ceremony. So what is a shaman? No. Yeah, they dressed in... Listen, after the burial, A religious leader or shaman. So what is a shaman?
Someone
A religious leader, yes. Very good. Scientists think that the Hope Well used the mounds to follow the movement of the sun and moon. At Fort Ancient, on the first day of summer, the sun shines straight through a slit in the mound wall. Wow. Hopewell people might have used mounds as a kind of calendar to keep track of the seasons. That is awesome, right? The mounds could have helped farmers tell when it was time to plant crops. Hopewell shamans might have planned ceremonies around seasons too. The Fort Ancient people. About 1,400 years ago, the Hopewell died out. Nearly 400 years went by before another mound building culture developed along with the rivers of the southern Ohio. We call this group the Fort Ancient people because they built villages near the Hopewell's Fort Ancient mounds. Don't be confused. Fort Ancient people did not build Fort Ancient. Hopewell people did. They also built villages near the Great Serpent Mound. Daily life. Like the Hopewell before them, the Fort Ancient people were farmers. They also fished and hunted. The Fort Ancient people were probably the first group in Ohio to hunt with bows and arrows. That's big time.
We did it.
Fort Ancient came up with the bows and arrows. That's huge. Fort Ancient people lived in larger villages than those of the Hopewell. As many as 500 villagers lived in one place. Builders made sturdy rectangle-shaped houses that they covered with bark. The houses circled around the village square. People gathered in the square to visit each other and to hold religious celebrations. Secrets of the mounds. Archaeologists used to think that the Fort Ancient people built only small burial mounds. Then, in 1991, and many archaeologists changed their minds after they studied pieces of the charcoal found in the Great Serpent Mound. Scientists were able to figure out the age of the charcoal. They decided it came from the same time period as the Fort Ancient people who built their village near there. Now, many archaeologists believe that the Fort Ancient people built the Great Serpent Mound, which is right here. Look at it.
That looks like a golf course. That looks
Yeah.
That's oh my.
But here it is. There's the head of it right there with a little eye in it. And then it does this.
It's a big snake.
It is right here. And there's a tail. It seriously does this, you guys. Look at it.
It looks like a snake, but its head is only an eyeball.
It's awesome, right?
That is cool. How did
Or-
they make the snake?
Or it looks
Okay.
like somebody's eye that fell out.
The search continues. Scientists think Fort Ancient people might have used the Great Serpent Mound to tell the start of the seasons. Archaeologists are still searching for clues that will tell us more about the mysterious mound and the people of Fort Ancient culture who disappeared from Ohio about 350 years ago. Why it matters. Ohio's mound builders left no written records about their lives, so what would they be?
Prehistoric.
Right? That's right.
Yeah.
But their mounds and artifacts tell us much about the lives of these early Ohioans. Protecting these mound sites is an important part of preserving the history of our state. All right, you guys. So you're going to go through. I'm going to stop my recording. I'll post this right now.